Let's call the case. People of the state of Michigan versus Kamala Carter.
Prosecuting attorney working Rosa.
Bridget Coons on behalf of Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, go ahead and state the record.
Kamala Carter.
Teresa Clare on behalf of probation. Your Honor, Mr. Carter is before the court for a violation of probation hearing. That hearing was adjourned from February 12th due to a pending case. At this time, Your Honor, he now has two pending cases, both being felonies with a PCC date of March 7th. Probation is recommending that this BOP hearing be adjourned to March 18, 2024 at 1 p.m. to determine the outcome of his pending cases.
Your Honor, we would ask that the court adopt the probation recommendations, and then we'd also ask or request that he be allowed to post some form of a cash bond. He is being held on other cases, but he would like to attempt to try to bond out while he is fighting these cases. So if we could ask for any type of cash bond that would assist him.
Your Honor, probation would object to that request. The pending cases involve additional assaultive behavior. The case that he is before the court, his probation case is a child abuse case. His pending case is an assault with great bodily harm, less than murder, assault with a dangerous weapon, a domestic violence, second offense, and an RNO.
All right. Yes. We did not. Whose fault is that?
That is definitely mine.
Yeah, okay, very good. So go ahead.
The people waiving consent of the defender's office, so that people do not believe that such conflict exists, the people make this waiver in avoidance of any doubt.
Ms. Coons.
Bridget Coons on behalf of the Public Defender's Office. At this time, we do waive any conflict of interest with this honorable court. We do not believe that a conflict exists, but in abundance of caution, we would waive that conflict.
And the court, for its part, also does not believe that a conflict exists either under the Michigan court rules or the cases decided thereunder. To the extent a conflict exists, given the waivers, the court will consent to hear the matter. Ms. Coons, you said he's held on other matters?
Yes, which he does have cash bond. This is the only case where he has bond is completely denied. He would like to work with a bail bondsman, though, to try to get out and then return to work.
But the reason that bond has been revoked and denied on this one is because of the other cases.
Yes. Well,
they've been denied the last time I was in.
well, so
Go ahead.
from my understanding, the violation of probation is for the other cases. That's why he's being held.
And we don't have any resolution to those other cases at this point. I guess my only question is, if I put this out to the 18th, well, let me ask it this way. The other two matters that he has, are those headed towards some type of resolution or not?
So that's going to be the first PCC that's coming up. I believe it's this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the 7th.
Yeah.
Right. I was aware of that.
Yeah. So at this time, I don't believe so. We still have to review the discovery in that case, particularly the videos.
Okay. And if we're waiting, and the reason I ask that is if we're waiting on some type of resolution to come forth on those cases, setting it for the 18th, we're going to be back here adjourning. Because if it's set for the 7th, and let's say they ask for an adjournment, which PD tends to do, just kidding. And it's put out even a week, there has to be 4 days for a resolution. And if it's more likely put out 2 weeks to the 21st, that's going to be after the 18th. So I understand why Ms. Polero may be recommending that date, but I don't know if that's truly going to be anything practical.
Your Honor, if I may, I do want to note that while the defendant's probation violation is because of the additional cases, he also was not reporting to Ms. Polero after, I believe, early December, and there was a bench warrant in this case. So it's not simply the fact that he picked up 2 felony cases. It's additionally the fact that he was not reporting to Ms. Polero in compliance with the conditions for this case as well.
Right, I get that, but I think Ms. Polera, they were looking for some, I think, clarity of what's gonna happen. I realize there are all these other issues going on in regard to this. But it would seem to me, what's my next date after the 18th?
April 1st.
I'm more inclined to adjourn this to that date, to the April 1st date. If something comes up where there's a resolution on the other matters or something happens on the other matters that we can do something on this, I don't mind calling it up early or doing something either by stipulation of the parties or by an order regarding this particular violation. So it won't prejudice Mr. Carter. I'm just thinking, why bring it back if it's unlikely we're gonna have anything to do?
I see. Have you talked to your private attorney on that case? So, do you- Okay. Yeah, and we'd be okay with adjourning it further out. However, we'd still be asking for at least some type of cash bond in the meantime. That way he can try to at least post something and get back to work.
What's his bond on the other case?
It's 60,000 total.
60?
Yeah. And Mr. Carter does believe that he'd be able to work with a bondsman to post out. We'd also, I mean, if it makes the court more comfortable, we could also offer a GPS tether.
The other events occurred at the town address, didn't they? Or did they occur someplace else?
No, Your Honor, they did not.
They didn't occur on Towner in Ann Arbor. I think at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the defendant's bond as is. Take a closer look at it when it gets to the case that's up 3 days from now. And not saying I won't look at it, but at this point, I'm just going to continue this bond if we vote at this point in this case.
All right.
Can I at least get my phone turned back on?
I'm sorry,
Can I at least get my phone turned back on?
your phone.
The
Sure.
phone privileges from the violation of probation trial inside the child abuse case. His phone privileges was disconnected. He no longer don't have contact with that victim at all. Yeah, he doesn't have contact with that victim at all. He understands no contact with any other victims inside any of his cases, and he won't violate that, Your Honor.
His phone privileges were revoked in this case?
On the,
The last one, the last case. The last DV case.
we're up for the violation of probation.
So, Your Honor, I believe that there was a domestic violence case that was brought forward before the court at a misdemeanor. That was dismissed and it was reauthorized as a DV second and an R&O. And I believe that his phone privileges were revoked in that misdemeanor case because he was contacting people that he should not be contacting from the jail. That's my understanding.
Is that a case that's up now?
Well, it's reauthorized as this pending felony.
As the pending felony. So the phone privileges are revoked in the one that's up Thursday.
No.
Your Honor, no. So inside that case, he never contacted the victim. His phone privileges were already revoked whenever he went to the jail.
Hold on. Okay. I'm not saying I will or won't, but nobody's telling me where
It was
the revocation of the phone privileges are coming from, and I can't recall. All I'm saying is I don't have them revoked in this case.
Okay. So we'll have to find the case that they're actually revoked in.
Right. If it's one of the felonies, then that's coming up for a PCC on Thursday. So to the extent it's going to be addressed, it would have to be addressed in that case.
So it wasn't.
It wasn't a rehab. It wasn't.
Okay.
Somebody totally different.
Okay, so I'll look into figure out what the case. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Good.
Yes.
Till 1 o'clock. All right.
Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Morgan Barroso on behalf of the people.
Bridget Coons on behalf of Mr. Ostermiller. Mr. Ostermiller, state your name for the record.
Jeffrey Ostermiller.
Claire on behalf of probation. Your Honor, Mr. Ostermiller is scheduled before the court today on a violation of probation. Mr. Ostermiller was arrested on February 24th, 2024 on a violation of the contact order. So the court is aware, Mr. Ostermiller at that time did have no non-consensual contact with the victim in this case. There was an incident that took place at her home. She asked him to leave. And in the police report that I reviewed, Your Honor, it took him multiple minutes before he left the premises or left the house. He was in the garage when police arrived, and he was arrested due to the contact order. Mr. Ostermiller was in custody. He was arraigned. The magistrate then put in place a no bond with the victim in this case, and bond was set. Mr. Ostermiller posted bond on February 26th, and he was released. Since that time, Your Honor, I did receive documentation from the victim in this case where Mr. Ostermiller has continued to communicate with her, multiple communications via text, emails, Google Docs, and I have provided all documentation to the court.
Yes.
Given the continued violation of the contact order and the prior violations from Mr. Ostermiller in this case, in entirety, probation is now asking that the court sentence Mr. Ostermiller to 93 days in jail, credit for 27 days that he's served on this case, and to serve the balance. But the court applied the bond that he posted recently, which was a 5,010%. That is in his name. I would ask that the court apply that to his outstanding bond, waive remaining terms, accept his other financial obligations, discharge him from probation without improvement.
Your Honor, at this time, Mr. Ostermiller does deny the allegations, and we would ask for this to be set up for a hearing. In the meantime, we'd ask that he be able to continue bond. He has completed some of the components through probation. I think that he is trying.
Well, he's in Ann Arbor. Why doesn't he come down? We can do the hearing today.
I'm staying with my mother in Santa Cruz.
How far is that?
About an hour and a half.
I got time.
I have no transportation, Your Honor.
Well, you want me to send somebody to get you?
I prefer if there were any alternative, I would take it.
So you can come down or we can come get you. Which would you prefer?
If you need me to come down, I can make every arrangement possible to try to come down.
And what I'll do is I'll adjourn this matter to 3 o'clock. Well, what time is it? 1:30? I'll adjourn this matter to 3:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Morgan Barroso on behalf of the people.
Bridget Coons on behalf of Mr. Ostermiller. Oh. If you can state your name for the record.
Jeffrey Ostermiller.
All right. I think we went through on Zoom the violations that are alleged and the recommendation, but you may go ahead, Ms. Coons.
Your Honor, at this time, my client would like to admit to the violations, and we would be asking that the court depart from the recommendations for good cause. He is, as far as the no contact goes, we in no means mean to excuse it, but he received 7 texts before he replied to the victim in this case. Again, I'm not trying to mitigate it. He understands that that was against court order. But he felt that at that time, it would have been okay to reply since she was texting him so much. As to everything else,
Well, which about the first incident then?
the consensual contact or
That
non-consensual.
turned into non-consensual contact.
So as far as that goes, Mr. Ostermiller, I think that there's an issue with the police report. Our focus is more so he admits to the text and calls. As to the consensual contact, he was told to leave. He was packing his bag. The police had arrived to the house.
Before I was told to leave. Correct.
Yeah. And then at that point, he was arrested. He is currently inside individual therapy. He goes once a week. He discusses issues like this, including his relationship. He even has an appointment today at 4:00. He's currently in the domestic violence program. He's 12 classes down, has one that he's supposed to go to tonight as well. He completed the intensive outpatient program, finished that inside November. He's been compliant with the sober link. Currently,
5 days.
5 days.
5 days shy of my 6-month chip.
Yeah, 6 months sober. He goes to AA meetings daily and does have a sponsor with the 12 Coconuts home group. He does have a full-time job at Michigan Medicine and works inside the IT department. He has 2 upcoming huge projects with deadlines that he'd like to try to meet, as well as he's in the process of reconciling with his children. I do have 2 letters from Recovery Technology and Hagira Health Incorporated. He went to their programmings and both of them said that he was doing well in them and he was very much participated inside the activities. So we asked that he be allowed to continue with probation. And I think that he is apologetic about the scenario.
Anything from the people?
No, Your Honor, we ask that you follow the Ms. Flores' recommendation.
All right. Anything else from probation?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Ostermiller, we've tried to work with you through this case, and the reports I get, and it's part of the problem is that rather than following what should be done, you always want to do things your own way, and allow you a little bit of latitude, and you just continue to not follow what we're asking you to do. I don't understand after being arrested the first time, why even after 7, 10, 15, 20 texts, I don't even understand why you respond. I don't even get it.
I should have blocked the number. I should have done anything but contact her back. I should have. I take full responsibility for that. It was a lapse in judgment. It was a lesson learned that will never be repeated. Until the day that I die, I will never contact Ms. Mason, make any attempt to contact her, go to her place of residence or work, or anything. I want to be as far away from this woman in this relationship as possible.
Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I made a big mistake. I made a big mistake this week. It is not a mistake that I will repeat ever.
I just don't understand. I'm going to waive all remaining terms except the financial obligations. I'll discharge the defendant from probation without improvement. The $500 bond that he applied will be applied to the fines and costs in this case. Sir, I'm done. I give people chances all the time. And I don't understand the arrest, get arraigned, then contact. Makes no sense to me. And I think it's because of the way that you try to do things through your probation, and that is try to do things your way. And if it hadn't been for Miss Blair correcting you before it got to me, this day probably would have come long before now. But the way that this is going to be now is I'm going to order 93 days in jail. I'll give you credit for the 27 that you served. I am going to order that the defendant is to serve the balance. Defendant is remanded.